Grandpa Larry says, there ain't no heroes. But Grandpa Larry is wrong. Grandpa Larry is one of those old hat Texas coots that is much tougher than he looks and far smarter than he looks as well. But inside, he is riddled with a wretched tangle of the unspoken aftershocks of hard living and poor decisions. He grew up in San Antonio, and then Tomball, followed by the Valley, and then up along the Gulf Coast. After that, as one might expect, Grandpa Larry split up to Rapid City, South Dakota. Nowadays, he spends his time hopping back and forth between his grandkids, 2 in Houston, Texas, and 2 more in what he calls hoity-toity, New Jersey. Grandpa Larry loves his grandkids, and his grandkids love Grandpa Larry. They love his fried shrimp, they love his carne asada enchiladas, and they love the way he makes their parents cringe whenever he refers to some asshole as a real son of a bitch. But as it turns out, despite what his grandkids may think, Grandpa Larry was not always a grandpa. In fact, for a long time, he was just a fella named Larry. Larry, the guy who ain't believe in no heroes. Larry worked in construction, laying concrete mostly. It entailed long, back-breaking days in the heavy, sopped humidity under the unrelenting summer sun of the Texas Gulf Coast. The trick, he said, was to get started early in the morning, get as much done as you can before that blazing sun settles in. Well, on this one particular summer morning, he's living in Kingsville, about 40 miles southwest of Corpus, where the current job is laying down a new and improved section of Highway 358 out to Mustang Island. He wakes up exactly the same way he had done every day for the previous decade, a little hungover. He takes the same quick shower and eats another quick egg, just like always. And of course, he loads up a cooler with ice and beer, as well as a special edition 48-ounce Miller's Barbecue insulated tumbler, which he will forever claim bears nothing more than delicious, refreshing iced tea. Now, according to Grandpa Larry, when one's job is building roads, you pretty much know the best byways and backways to get from anywhere to everywhere. And when it came to the job site in Corpus Christi in 1967, you can just hop off 77 and use 70 by the old railroad track to bounce over to the Chapman Ranch and pick up County 45 to slip in through the South Docks over by Oso Bay. Duh. He pops on his baseball cap and tosses his tool belt into his gorgeous green 1965 Chevy pickup truck. He roars the engine and heads out into the darkness. But after a couple miles down the road, Grandpa Larry gets thirsty. And he may or may not have made himself a tumbler of sweet, sweet, delicious iced tea. Now, feeling refreshed and ready for a long day of working with heavy machinery, he pushes in the cigarette lighter on the dash and pulls a Camel from the pack poking out of his shirt. With his left hand, he grabs hold of a round handle mounted at the end of an orbital mechanical device, which he then rotates around and around in a counterclockwise motion in order to lower the window of the driver's side door of the truck. Plink! The cigarette lighter pops out. Grandpa Larry plucks it out and presses its glowing hot coils against the business end of his non-filtered Camel 100. And in one motion, he plunks the lighter right back into the slot. It's automatic, pure muscle memory. He pulls in a deep, hot drag of burning troubles and blows out a cloudy, toxic kaboob of ornery complaints and excuses. But then, up ahead, through the murky haze billowing through the cab of his pickup, Larry squints, and he can see a pair of taillights glimmering up ahead in the distance on that dark, pre-dawn back road running along the old railroad track. After another couple miles and another couple of iced teas, Grandpa Larry finds himself catching up to what he describes as a shitty early version of a shitty station wagon. It's trudging along way too slow for Grandpa Larry, so he flips on his blinker and gets ready to pass, but before he does, something flies out of the passenger side window of the shitty station wagon. Larry hovers his foot over the gas, then another something flies out, like a crumpled up white paper bag, followed by a couple of napkins or wrappers getting chucked to the side of the road. Okay, sure, Grandpa Larry may have cracked open his first tall boy at 5:30 that morning, but he would never be the type of asshole to just toss his shit out the car window like a goddamn son of a bitch. Grandpa Larry gives a nasty, lingering flash of the high beams to express his disapproval. That'll show him. The asshole in the shitty station wagon is undeterred. More trash flutters out of the station wagon. Grandpa Larry shakes his head in disapproval. He can't believe what he's seeing, quite literally because the inside of his cab is now so full of cigarette smoke. He leans over to the passenger side and, using the same rotating cylindrical device mentioned previously, he rolls down the passenger window. A gush of wind from the road whooshes through the cab, and the view ahead becomes much clearer. Just in time for the next piece of trash to sail from the shitty station wagon and go bouncing along the edge of the asphalt by the Gulf Coast switchgrass. Grandpa Larry slows down a bit to get a better look, and there it is. It isn't a fast food bag. It's not a dirty napkin. It's a puppy. They had all been puppies. Grandpa Larry says there ain't no heroes, but on that morning in 1967, even though he may not be looking or smelling the part, he must have been drinking some super sweet iced tea, because on a small back road heading to Corpus, a man named Larry straps on his seatbelt. He whips into the oncoming lane to pass. Luckily, his blinker is still turned on from before. He stomps the gas and races up alongside the shitty station wagon. He looks over and locks eyes with the man behind the wheel, and guess what? The guy looks exactly like you think he would. Like a real asshole son of a bitch. Then something happens. In an instant, Grandpa Larry's mind releases a flurry of thoughts and questions and emotions and iced tea. He asks himself, what could possibly compel a person to just toss a living thing away? He figures maybe the guy can't afford a new litter of puppies, but aren't there better ways to deal with that, right? A shelter, a church, an old folks' home? He also ponders what would actually happen to such a tiny, helpless, fragile thing after being thrown out of a car at 50 miles an hour. It probably wouldn't just die on impact, but instead it would most likely be injured, certainly in pain, and utterly terrified. A broken and bewildered newborn puppy would be completely vulnerable to any and all predators, and even if nothing came along to eat the poor thing, it would only be doomed to a long, excruciating demise, succumbing to the flies, the fire ants, and the blistering heat of the late Texas summer. Grandpa Larry sees red. He yanks the wheel and sideswipes the shitty station wagon. Shocked and frantic, the puppy-flinging asshole grapples with the steering wheel for control, but it's already too late. The gorgeous green 1965 Chevy pickup truck is forcing the shitty station wagon off the road. Larry skids the two vehicles to a halt, grinding his front bumper across the driver's side door panel without spilling a single drop of iced tea. He pops out the door and stops around the bed of. He pops out the door and stomps around the bed of his truck towards the puppy flinger, where he takes a big, deep breath and changes the subject. The grandkids' version of the story wraps up pretty quickly right around this point. He just kind of skips to the end, but this is grown-up story time. So, Grandpa Larry pops out the door and stomps around the bed of his truck towards the puppy flinger. He jerks open the driver's side latch of the shitty station wagon, popping off the handle in the process. The asshole sitting there gives him a glare and spurts out, "What the hell is your pop?" Grandpa Larry punches him in the face before he can finish. "Ah, hey man, what the hell is pop?" Grandpa Larry cracks him again, perhaps just for being redundant. He glances over the passenger side, and in the floorboard, he sees 4 white puppies just floundering and hopping around, doing nothing more than being adorable little puppies. It was a silly pile of playful obliviousness, not knowing they were a casual flip away from their very own miserable, wretched end. Grandpa Larry grabs the asshole's keys and throws them into the thorny, brushy darkness. He then gathers up the pups and walks them over to his truck, where he gently, carefully, humanely leaves them in the cab. Oh, look, is that iced tea? By now, the asshole is out of the car and apparently has yet to learn anything from any of his previous interactions with Grandpa Larry. This time he finishes his question. "What the fuck is your problem, man?" Grandpa Larry says, "There ain't no heroes, But when he came across some asshole son of a bitch throwing puppies out of their shitty station wagon on the side of the road, Grandpa Larry beat the piss out of that asshole son of a bitch and left his ass broken and bewildered on the side of the road instead. Grandpa Larry drove back up the road and collected as many of the other puppies that he could find, and then he drove to work just like the day before. And later that evening, a few construction workers went home and surprised their grandkids with fluffy new little members of the family. The end.